Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime Cardcaptor Sakura Seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix. And I was excited when they had put this on Netflix. I'm like, I remember seeing kind of this stuff as a kid. Just seeing the kind of magical girl stuff. I mean, hell, I was in like my prime time of getting onto Toonami and stuff like that with Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, why didn't we watch this more? And then I looked into it, and it's like, oh, evidently the localization went really kind of fucking screwbally, and somehow tried to reconfigure like 70 episodes into 39 episodes. So, yeah, they did some weird kind of funky stuff, and that kind of shows in this because there's some weird things that occur, mainly with how the dub is from probably Japanese with just subtitles because they try and do different kind of things. But overall, I think it worked out pretty well, and I'm glad I was able to watch it because it's just a kind of wholesome, cute, good magical girl series about a fourth grader that has to deal with some strange stuff going on. And you can kind of see why we had the flip with Madoka, and it's like, oh, okay, now that kind of makes sense. So, this is about Sakura Kinomoto. She lives with her father and her brother. Her mother died when she was 3. And just puttering around. Her father works at university, pretty much researching ancient civilizations and everything. And her brother pretty much acts like an older brother in high school, being pretty much a dick to her, calling her a monster and all that kind of stuff. When one day when she's doing stuff around the house, she finds pretty much this magical book, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? Now, granted, she heard a sound from it. It's not like she went to be like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm gonna do whatever I fucking want. She's pretty much a conscientious, good girl. She is more into kind of sports and music, doesn't really like math that much, and she's got a pretty kind of chill ass school with friends pretty much everywhere. Granted, it's not that realistic that she's friendly with everyone in the class, but with the way the characters are set up, it's kind of hard for them not to be, and it kind of helps in a way to kind of just bring the kind of camaraderie together and kind of switch out certain characters at certain different instances to kind of vary up the cast. And it's really kind of hard to do that with an ensemble kind of put in because each character kind of feels like a character, not like a cutout or like, hey, here's a cardboard cutout A, we haven't used them in a while, fucking use them. But she's dealing with this whole card situation, and it's like, what the fuck's going on here? And funnily enough, she has the windy card, pops up, and she accidentally, like, does something to it. It scatters all the Clo cards, and thus begins the whole kind of thing. She gets introduced to Kiro, or Cerberus. It's really kind of weird, because they call him Kiro in the dub, but I looked up, and it's, like, called Cerberus. I'm like, what? Okay, cool, whatever. But he kind of gives her the lowdown. He's the guardian beast of the seal kind of shit. Here's this kind of key thing. Transforms into a kind of staff so that way she can go and collect all these cards. That's pretty much what the whole thing of Season 1 is, collecting these Clo cards. And it's really kind of cool. No really high stakes kind of things. It's mainly making sure that these mischief-making cards don't get too out of control, and it really doesn't get too bad. Granted, tension isn't really that high, but granted, I'm watching this as an adult, whereas if you're on the, like, 4th grade level and everything, and kind of, like, in with these kids, you'd be like, yeah, dealing with this shit and trying to sneak out at night would be kind of a bitch, you know what I mean? So, it kind of varies. I understand my perspective would be more along the lines of her father and her brother, and that I wouldn't feel as much of the tension unless I was a small kid learning stuff in school and being like, hey, I gotta deal with these crazy-ass things. So that's pretty much it. We see all different kinds of things happen throughout the season, but that's the basic kind of gist. She finds a card, she has to figure out how to deal with it, and then capture the card and return it to its card form. Now, what it does get kind of varied up in is another character is introduced that is related to Chloe Reed from Hong Kong, Sharon Lee, and he's pretty much the rival and eventually turns into more of an ally and kind of love interest for Sakura throughout these 2 seasons. And I love that Toya and Kiro are kind of call him the brat all the time because he was kind of just a big asshole when he first popped up, being like, well, not the biggest asshole. I mean, relative to the series things. I mean, I've seen some other things of like, that's an asshole level thing. He's kind of asshole level in here, but it's not like gigantic. But he's like, I'm going to collect all the cloak cards and be the baddest ass magician, pretty much shit. And shows him kind of using different kind of magic as well, calling on like wind gods, fire gods, thunder gods, and all that kind of stuff, and actually helping Sakura capture all these different kinds of cards. And when it's really kind of weird because usually it's like, oh, whoever kind of does the magic that pretty much would help capture something, they get the card. He gets a couple of them, and I'm like, I don't know, I think Sakura should have gotten that card instead. But it pretty much balances out as it keeps going on, and we don't really get a traditional kind of antagonistic force. We get people that present challenges to Sakura, but their goal is not to kill her or do anything really kind of bad to her. Really, they just test her and test her strength of character, which was actually kind of refreshing. And now, granted, it's probably been the vogue back then, but like watching it now, it's kind of refreshing to see the kind of thing of like, oh, it's someone that's not attempting to kind of like kill someone. And it was this other character, Miss Masuki, who pops up, and we see her kind of doing stuff in the background. We get ominous music and everything. I'm like, oh, she a badass motherfucker or something. But no, she's just pretty much helping to test out the new master of the cloak cards and everything and figure out who that's going to be. Now, we also get some interesting kind of stuff going on, just like interesting kind of lines like, I won't be cute if I die. And Sakura's best friend Tomoyo is fucking obsessed with videotaping her and her exploits. Now, granted, you'd have to be blind not to pick up on the thing that Tomoyo pretty much is in love with Sakura. We even get kind of dialogue going through on that she just wants Sakura to be happy, even though Sakura doesn't have the same kind of feelings towards her. I'm like, yeah, I got no beef with that. And we also got some weird kind of stuff going on with Tomoyo and this other character, Yukido. Now, I like Yukido, and I like the pairing of like Yukido and Toya. And it's like they got to dance around for a bit until it gets more into the second season. It's like, yeah, they're a couple and everything. But the really weird thing is we get Mei Ling, who is Shaoran's cousin, introduced, and she's like, he's my fiance and everything. And it's just really kind of weird that I've now found a second one where the people kind of dance around like same-sex relationships. Now, granted, I understand the times and everything, but it's kind of okay for like cousins to be engaged. Never fucking made any sense to me. Like, okay. But then you get the backstory and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense why she loves him like that, even though Sharon's like, I don't love her like that. He essentially made a promise to her that if I don't find someone that I like, I'll marry you kind of shit. Almost like that. If we're both 40 at the same time and we're both single, we will get married kind of shit that you usually see friends do in like adult rom-coms and like sitcoms and shit like that. But of course that kind of gets figured out later on, like in season 2 and all that kind of thing. So we just see some odd things going on. Let's see what was going on. We see a lot of like positivity and stuff going on. There's bad things happening in the world, but most of the time people tend to go on the more positive. We got a kind of episode that dealt with this older gentleman that just of how I've usually seen things, because people, it's like, okay, he's got to be bad, but you find out that it's Sakura's great-grandpa, and that he really liked hanging out with her, but he didn't know that it was, well, he probably knew it was Sakura on the first go-off, but we see him, like, talking. We see the backstory of, like, Tomoyo's mom is actually related to them as well, because her mom was Sakura's mother's cousin, and she was pissed off because their father took her away from her, and she really liked her too. Never mind the fact that the father's like 9 years older than Sakura's mother and married her at like 16 while she was in high school and he was a teacher. There's some weird fucking shit in this thing, man, with like age differences. I'm like, ooh, kind of weird. Ugh. And, well, Sakura likes Yukido, and that introduces some stuff, but it never gets really kind of strange. Granted, you'd be like, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this, but the show never goes into a bad direction. Yukido doesn't go fucking nutso or anything. Neither does Sakura. We get another little girl that's kind of interested in a teacher as well, but that kind of happens at those ages. and it's still not put into a kind of nasty ass context. I'm like, okay, you just watch out. And the show's very careful not to be like, this is a perfectly normal relationship kind of thing of like the power differential. It's just like, yeah, it's okay to feel feelings and all that kind of stuff. Just work through them. That's a really kind of great message in the show. It's like, all right, good deal, good deal. Let's see. And here, this is the weird kind of thing. There's one portion when it's dealing with the return card where Sakura and Sharon are pretty much talking about their feelings with Yukito because both of them actually really like Yukito. But it's kind of explained later on why they both like Yukito. It just randomly, for no fuck all reason, goes to Japanese. Like, it's got all the dub before and the dub after, and it's like, what? And this happens, like, here, and then another part in, like, season 2, I'm just like, is there a reason? It's never really explained. I'm like, alright, that's kind of... That's just really fucking weird. So, Sakura pretty much gets to the point where she's got all the cloak cards, and we find out that Miss Masuki, she's been having dreams and premonitions of what's going on with like a moon and a tower and Miss Masuki and everything like that. It's like, all right, let's see kind of how this goes down. And then we find out that as we're going through, there's 2 guardians for the Chloe Reed books, and the other guardian is you. No, for the Chinese moon, because that's important, because Chloe Reed was kind of a fusion of Eastern and Western things of magic. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And Yukito is like his earthly form. Like we see that Kira, evidently, when he gets to the point that he gets the cloak cards he needs, he is able to return to his usual kind of guardian form. While the same thing kind of happens with you, and he becomes the one to pretty much test the new masters for the cloak cards. He tests Shaoran. He doesn't pass. He then tests Sakura, and we find out the kind of giant kind of disaster that would happen is that if she is not able to be the master of these cloak cards, everyone will forget their feelings towards each other, and it'll just be this kind of like screwed up world. And Sakura goes through that. And it's like, oh, that's not good. But she's able to kind of break out and use the first card that she got, Wendy, to kind of rope him and get him. And she's like, I don't want to be your master. I want to be your friend and everything. Showing Sakura's different feelings and how she wants to run things. She doesn't want to be above people. Yes, she might be better than people at certain things, but she does not use that to be a complete and utter ass to people, and instead wants to help people. We see her going through other kind of things, helping people, helping one of her classmates learn to swim in the second season and everything. It's an important character thing that kind of keeps popping back up as we see Sakura dealing with all these things, being very, not timid, but freaked out by the scenarios and really not wanting to die, to really getting through her fears and everything, dealing with ghosts and all that, because she has a fear of ghosts, and dealing with all the different kinds of fears that she has to eventually overcome and surmount these obstacles. Really kind of reminiscent of kind of Goku. Though Sakura, in my opinion, is smarter than Goku. Trust me, I love Goku. It's very kind of similar character arcs. She really doesn't... She just gains more knowledge and doesn't really change her character that much, just emphasizing the best aspects of her characters while trying to make sure that her weaknesses don't lead to horrible outcomes. So, she becomes the master of the cloak cards, sets off season 2, and we're like, what the fuck's going on here? So the central conceit is for this that she is having problems using the cloak cards because, well, she met Chloe and like, hey, sorry, I'm going to probably have to bother you. She like goes to some kind of like higher plane where Chloe Reed is, talk to him a little bit, and then to season 1, comes down and sees that the cloak cards are a little bit weird, and she's got to start changing them into Sakura cards. I'm like, that's actually pretty cool, and I kind of like that. Now, granted, she has lower magical energy, so every time she was attempting to do this, it kind of zapped her, sometimes even having her not pass out, but get really sleepy and be pretty much useless for the rest of the time. So it's like, okay, that's a pretty interesting conceit. We see that somebody else is taking over the role of the tester this time, Ariel. And he is the reincarnation of Chloe Reed. You could tell off the bat, the imagery and everything like that. He's got his own guardians, Spinny and Ruby and everything like that. Oh, well. She also then goes to high school as well. And we see that the things are kind of like having other kind of adverse effects. Yukito is getting sleepier and everything like that because Kiro can keep his own kind of magical energy going since he's based on the sun, but the moon doesn't have that kind of thing. They need magical energy from someone. My biggest kind of gripe with this season is that it took so long for the whole Yukito Yu situation to be shaked out. Because I'm like, okay, somebody needs to give him his magical energy. Who would that be? Probably Toya. And it eventually happens like that. And he can't, like, see his mother anymore, sense what's going on with Sakura. But he knows that she's hiding kind of stuff and all that. But he does that, gets everything kind of squared away. Sakura keeps going through and having to change the cloak cards to suit her battle kind of situations and everything. And we see some other things going on as well. She confesses her feelings to Yukito, but he, in a very well done way, turns her down and everything. She still feels sad and everything, but she then gets comforted by Sharon. Sharon, of course, also talks to Mei Ling because he's starting to feel feelings for Sakura, and he tells her, and he's not trying to be that asshole about it. It's really kind of cool to see his kind of character change from being like, all I care about is the cloak cards, getting through that and just being friends with Sakura and helping her out with her situation, getting his feelings for her to actually come into being, and then telling Mei Ling, and it kind of sucks. And Mei Ling going over to Tomoyo's house was really kind of cool because you didn't really see them kind of interact that much. But Tomoyo is a really good friend both to Sakura, to Shaoran, and to Mei Ling, as Mei Ling just pretty much cries her heart out because she doesn't really, she hates the situation that Shaoran doesn't like her, but she wants the best for him to be happy. And that kind of echoes Sakura when she does the same thing for Yukito, and she cries, but Shaoran's there to comfort her. And then we start getting through as they're getting towards the end goals and everything. And let's see what other kind of interesting things happen. There's some interesting lines in the dub, like someone saying that there's a monster wave coming. I like that Ariel's dislikes were like making Sakura feel scared and unhappy, but that he couldn't tell her about that. There's like a zombie movie line that was pretty good. Let's see here. There's like some Michael Jordan references. It was just really kind of strange, but really kind of cool to see those kind of things. Like Sakura at one point was like humming the Addams Family theme. It's like, what the fuck? That's pretty cool. So we're seeing everything going on. Sakura getting stronger and stronger, being able to sometimes change multiple cards in one go. Now, granted, the first time she did that, it didn't work out so well. Things started going nuts. She had to track down one of the cards because it went like fuck nuts. She goes on, and then towards the end, she does most of the cards, except she's got the last two that she has to do, the light and the dark, being the most powerful, because Ariel finally reveals himself and said, hey, I'm pretty much going to put the town in darkness. If you can't do this by sunrise, everybody's going to be asleep. Kind of giving her that impetus to get that done. She's attempting to do this. Kiro and Yu put their power into her staff, which her staff looked really kind of cool because it had been kind of a shorter kind of star staff since it had changed to her kind of mastery, but then it looked kind of similar to what we'd seen Ariel's look like for Chloe Reed's, and we kind of figured out what was kind of going on as we got led up to this moment, because Chloe Reed evidently at one point said that he was just going to die out of nowhere, and that kind of set off the chain of events. Have to find a new master, somebody to look after Kiro and Yu, since he loved them. They loved him. And Yu was pretty much tasked with being the one to, of course, judge the new master and all that. And seeing that kind of stuff being brought up in the second season was cool. And just kind of lends credence to what's going on here. And we see that Sakura is able to change the cards, but only with the help of Shaoran. And just like, yeah, I'm Chloe Reed's assistant, let me help you with this. And she's able to, boom, turn them both and use the light card to bring light back to the town and everything. And then, of course, Ariel kind of leaves, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They go, and we see that Ariel has invited that, it's really kind of cool and ominous. We see the doors open. We see a magician being a motherfucking magician. They come in and we see it's like cakes and everything served. It's like, yeah, congratulations. You transformed all the cards to Sakura cards, and you did really well. And see, the thing is, the night before, after she had done that, Sharon had confessed his feelings. I'm like, dude, good on you for confessing your feelings, because Tomoyo had done a good job of being like, listen, I don't think you should keep those feelings inside. You should say them to Sakura so that way you can both make a decision. I was like, God damn, that was a really adult kind of thing to say for a fourth grade kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, that would be really helpful for kids to hear at that age. But he did it right afterwards as he's pretty much like exhausted. And she's like, yay, thanks. And he's like, Sakura, I love you. It's like, and she's trying to figure out how to kind of deal with this and all that. Now, granted, we don't get complete closure on that at the end of the season, but I don't mind that. I do know that a third season had been made, and I can't wait for that to be dubbed and released somewhere because I want to watch it at some point because I actually really like this show. So they get in. Ariel's like, yeah, congratulations. Good on you for doing all this stuff. It's like, all right, thank you. And the thing is, he needed to put her in a progressively more challenging situation so that way she could essentially exercise her magical power to get stronger. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. You couldn't have told her. Neither could Miss Masuki. Kira, of course, is a little bit pissed, but he's like, yeah, it makes sense. He's eating all of his shit and all that. You confronts Ariel and be like, why didn't you tell us you were Chloe Reed? I would have waited for Chloe Reed forever. He's like, Chloe Reed is never coming back. I'm just a reincarnation. He just wanted you guys to be taken care of and be happy, man. I'm like, it's really nice. I really like that this show has that kind of positivity and good kind of lessons. Granted, they don't come off as preachy. They come off as like, yeah, Chloe Reed wanted you guys to be taken care of by someone who was cool and who wouldn't be an asshole to you guys and probably misuse you. Because that's the thing. Chloe Reed went off to other adventures. Granted, this dude's his reincarnation, but it's not him. Might have some kind of ideas and feelings and everything, but he's going to go do his own stuff. And of course, he's going to be going off back to England since he transferred in to do this kind of stuff. Shaoran is going back to Hong Kong, and Sakura's trying to figure out her feelings and actually creates her own card. And I'm like, that's a big thing, and decides to go see him off to Hong Kong, and he finally gives her the teddy bear because there's a whole kind of thing of like making a teddy bear, naming it after the person you like and giving it to them, that they'll reciprocate your feelings in turn. And they of course say goodbye. He gives her the teddy bear. He was going to leave it in his room, but of course his manservant dude's like, nah, here you go, man. And they had a nice kind of touching thing, and that's kind of where it's left off. Of course, we get Sakura and Kiro doing that kind of end episode thing, saying thanks for the support and everything, which was kind of cute and kind of nice, because in the first season they did some like Kiro's Corner kind of stuff. And I was like, huh, that was kind of interesting, though I could understand why they kind of stopped it because it's just kind of extra work. But I overall really enjoyed both of the seasons because even though they weren't like pulse pounding action all the time and there's kind of some like lull spots, it did a nice kind of thing to have that kind of world where you can have that kind of like peaceful moments. You know what I mean? Though granted, it's not for everyone. If you're looking for high octane action and like a dark kind of thing, this isn't for you. I would highly recommend this for families with kids, anybody that's like interested in anime. This Cardcaptor Sakura is really good. Definitely if you're into the magical girls kind of show and stuff like that. This is just a wholesome kind of thing that has pretty good storylines, pretty good characters. Granted, Sakura, Shaoran, and kind of the core little group get more character development, but there's character development that kind of like floats up all around that does pretty well. So I'm like, yeah, if you're into character development, you'll get it. If you're into not crazy action, but some interesting ones to see how they get out of it, definitely for you. I would recommend this to anybody. And really for anything, this is definitely a good palate cleanser if you watch a really fucked up, crazy ass anime that you're like, I'm not doing good. This will pretty much hit you out and you'll be like, that's pretty good. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.